Let me tell you about one of the most bizarre wars in history. It didn't involve rival nations, nuclear weapons, or heroic last stands. No, this war was fought between soldiers and the birds. Big, feathery birds. And it sounds like a bad movie plot, but I promise you, this really happened. It's called the Great Emu War, Emu War. And once you hear about this war, you never look at Australia the same way again. This war went down in Western Australia in 1932. Now, I want you to imagine endless wheat fields stretching out under a blazing sun. Farmers working hard to grow crops, trying to recover from the Great Depression of the time. These were tough times, and every grain of wheat was precious. But then came the emus. Now, if you don't know what an emu is, picture a bird about as tall as an average human, with long legs, fluffy body, and an attitude. They're like the cousins of ostrich, but except they cannot fly. And they don't need to because they can run like Olympic sprinters. They're big, they are fast, and apparently they're pretty fond of wheat. At first, it was just a few emus wandering into the fields. And farmers probably thought, look at these funny birds. They're kind of cute, But then, as if word got out of the emu community, thousands of them showed up. It wasn't cute anymore. It was chaos. They trampled fences, they ate crops, they acted like they owned the place. Imagine trying to protect your livelihood, and these oversized chickens just show up, raking up everything. The farmers were at their wits' end, so they did what any reasonable person would do. They asked the government for help, and this is where things take a turn for the ridiculous. Instead of offering to build better fences or coming up with clever solutions, the government said, you know what, let's call in the military. And yes, the military, you had that right. Let's call in the military to fight the birds. Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith. Now, Meredith was a seasoned soldier, a veteran of World War I. I'm sure when he joined the army, he dreamed of heroic battles, defending his nation and country. He probably didn't imagine he would be chasing birds through a wheat field with a machine gun. But orders are orders. Meredith and his men rolled into the fields with their Lewis machine guns, basically the latest in bird fighting technology. Their first battle took place near a town called Campion. He spotted a group of about 50 emus grazing peacefully like they did not have a care in the world. The soldiers set up their guns, aimed, and fired. What happened next? Absolute pandemonium. The emus bolted in every direction, zigzagging like they were dodging bullets in the Matrix. And let me tell you, these birds are fast. They can run up to 30 miles per hour. The soldiers managed to take down a handful, but the rest vanished into the bush like feathery ninjas. But Meredith wasn't about to give up. No way. He regrouped his men and tried again, this time setting up an ambush near a dam. The emus showed up right on schedule, but once the shooting started, it was like they knew exactly what to do. Some ran, some charged, and some just outmaneuvered the soldiers entirely. It was like watching a game of tag, except one side had feathers and the other side had guns, and the feathers were actually winning. But now the soldiers were getting frustrated. Someone had the bright idea to chase the emus in trucks, and honestly, that sounds like it might have worked. Except for one small problem. The emus were faster than the trucks. The terrain was tough and rough. The trucks were bouncy everywhere and gunners couldn't aim properly. At one point, a soldier's gun jammed and he nearly fell out of the truck. Meanwhile, the emus were probably thinking, is this the best they've got? After several weeks, the results were in. Over 2,500 rounds of ammunition had been fired, and the soldiers had managed to kill about 200 emus. That's it. Meredith called it quits, admitting defeat. He even described the emus as remarkably clever and said they were very highly organized, like they had a general calling the shots. Was that true? Probably not, but it sure added to the legend. When the media found out, they had a field day. Headlines like "The Army Loses War Against Birds" spread like wildfire. The government tried to sweep the whole thing under the rug, but it was too late. The Great Emu War became a national joke. And the emus Oh, they were fine. They went back to their usual lives, strutting around the outback, probably telling their grandchildren about the time they beat the humans in a war. We were fast, we were smart, and we were unstoppable, they would say, puffing out their chests. Today, the Great Emu War is remembered as one of the most absurd chapters in history. It's a story of frustration, resilience, and sheer audacity of thinking machine guns would solve a bird problem. And while the soldiers may have lost, at least we get to laugh about it now. Somewhere in our Australian bush, I bet those emus are still laughing too.